go?
Should we go?
Yeah,
Should we
let's do it.
Okay, all right.
Excited.
So, chapter 5 is the shadow in Shinar. This is the opening quote for chapter 5. Stilled, the words seem to quiver in the air, almost visible. We start out chapter 5 with a Moraine point of view. Her and Swan are talking about Rand, and she's like, this is treason.
To me, this is so stupid, though, because
Right?
there will be a Dragon Reborn. He's the man that can channel.
Right.
So, like, what were your plans?
Exactly.
No one ever talked about this.
Right.
Like,
Swan and Moraine recognize this is serious business. And of course they talk about the horn. Swan says Agelmar like basically pushed the horn in her hands the moment she got there because it was just too much temptation. I really love the moment when Swan talks about seeing Rand in the courtyard and she says he blazed. Like the sun. Yes. Blazed. Like you can see it, you can feel it, like what he must have looked like to her eyes in that moment. And that she was terrified at seeing him. Moraine states that Rand al'Thor will stand before the world as the Dragon Reborn, and if she wasn't outing him with his outfits, she is now definitely outing him to the Amyrlin. So they begin making plans, but there's much to be discussed, and they are still like kind of in this one-on-one zone that is suspicious. So Moraine is like, can't talk now. We'll make plans later. Mental note to herself is, I can't tell you everything, my friend. We switch point of views now, and we go to the White Cloaks. And again,
Joffrey
didn't hate it.
This was so good.
Yeah.
This is so much foreshadowing for the last chapters of the book.
Oh my God.
Ooh, so good.
Yes. Okay. Joffrey Bornhold is the White Cloak who was in command when Egwene and Perrin were captured and Hopper was killed. He's called back from Caemlyn. He has like kind of this flashback thought of why he's approaching Tom and Head with 2,000 White Cloaks behind him. And he had been called back from Caemlyn where he had felt a push and Morgase could be toppled. And the political implications of this statement definitely escaped me before. Caemlyn was in a rough spot and the White Cloaks were there instigating it like the whole way through. So he's kind of pissed off that he's been called back because he feels like they were really close to accomplishing their goal and like getting a foothold in Caemlyn because like nobody ever invites the Children of the Light to anything. Bornhold is met by the second in command of the group of White Cloaks that they are meeting, and he finds out that they're there to meet a bunch of questioners, also known as the Hand of the Light, also known as the Torture Crew, by me from now on. Anyway, so this questioner tells Joffrey Bornhold that the village that he's taking them to has been pacified, and Bornhold is pissed, and he's like, well, that just means that there's going to be a bunch of bodies washing up on the banks of the river, like in the village downstream. There are rumors of Arthur Hawkwing's armies returned, and we are going to hear this a lot. And Bornhold feels like something is off in this situation. He doesn't understand why he's been called there. He feels as though there's a plot happening that he is not privy to, and he moves forward at the end of his point of view, wondering who's pulling the strings at this moment. So then our next point of view, there's so many point of views in this one, is Liandrin, something of the Red Aja. So in this particular point of view, she is on her way to see the Lady Amalisa, and she finds Amalisa in her chambers reading and laughing in front of the fire with her ladies. All of the girlish friendliness that Liandrin had shown earlier is gone. And she's like, everyone needs to get out. And I am talking to the Lady Amalisa by herself. Once all of the women are gone, Liandrin goes into full-blown intimidation mode and gets the Lady Amalisa off balance enough to open her up to a weave Liandrin creates, a forbidden weave intended to bend people to another person's will. And this, again, in the book is one of the things that I kind of like about her, is she's like, the moment I found out that this weave was forbidden when I got to Tar Valon, it was a sign that other people were jealous of how powerful she could be. So with this weave in place, Leander commands that the Lady Amalisa, her ladies, her servants, all be on the lookout for Mat, Rand, and Perrin. And once she gets done with this command, she has this like begrudging thought towards the Lady Amalisa that this woman has power that Liandrin doesn't. And she does have this like thought at one point where she's like, what queen within her has my power? Like, she feels almost Shakespearean in some ways. Maybe that's why I like her. She's just dramatic. She is just purely out to get power. And it's so single-minded. It's so driven. And it's so bad. And she never, nope, I can't say that. I'll save that for spoilers. Anyway, Liandrin wants power, and she's also looking for Mat, Perrin, and Rand. Podden Fane is the last person that we see in this chapter. He's being rescued, but not by who he expected. Yeah, who are you expecting, Podden Fane? Maybe we'll talk about that in the spoilers, Amber.
Sounds good.
Cool.
Chapter 6, Dark Prophecy. So we are switching over to Rand's point of view, and he's asleep on the floor in the women's quarters. Sounds cold and not very comfortable. And we start out with one of my favorite things, another nightmare sequence from Rand's point of view.
You love those.
Yes. This is a lie.
Yeah,
Mat.
Sorry.
So in his dream, Mat has gone full-blown dagger sickness. And then Perrin is in the after moments of clawing his actual eyeballs out. Then Baalzamon shows up in the dream, and Fane is in the dream, Podden Fane, and they are echoing one another, saying things like, the battle is not over, in unison. Nothing creepy about that at all.
Do you think they had to practice that?
On
3. 1, 2, 3. The battle is never over, Althor. No, you fucked up again, Fane. Damn it. Okay, sorry. I'm Fane in this skit. Cool.
So Rand wakes up, and Robert Jordan gives us this really nice little recap description of Nynaeve, and she's sitting there and her knitting needles are making click, click, clicks. And she's looking over Rand with her dark eyes, and she's a slender woman with a big, fat braid. So Nynaeve soothes Rand's worries and agrees to keep him hidden from the Amerlin Swan Sanche. And Rand this is a little bit humorous to me, but he's wearing this laborer's leather jerkin as a disguise.
Right.
Which I'm just like, okay, like.
This is like Clark Kent in glasses.
Right.
Who's not going to recognize him? Everyone recognizes him. Why did they decide that?
Egwene gave it to him gave him this jerkin, I guess, as a disguise. I don't know.
It's so dumb. I mean, it is definitely something that like
a
17-year-old would come up with. Yeah.
Like, here, put these glasses on.
Okay, sorry.
Then Nynaeve gives us some news. She tells Rand that Egwene has gone to see Podden Fane again, and she wants to heal him. The serving women are acting strange, and Nynaeve tells Rand that they are coming and going at odd times, and Nynaeve thinks that they are looking for him. So Rand names the Dark One in frustration over the situation that's going on, and then he has a dizzy spell, and Nynaeve yells at him and threatens to box his ears. Then they're interrupted by alarm bells, and the keep is kind of going crazy, and Rand thinks immediately of Egwene's safety and runs to her. So as he's running to her aid, women are screaming upon seeing this man in a jerkin with a sword in the women's quarters with Professor's plum and the pipe. And
heading towards the library.
Yes. So Rand crosses paths in this quick moment with Swan Sanche, and I kind of get this like look, like I can just see her opening her mouth to like yell at him or say something, and he just kind of like, he just kind of like pew, like runs off.
Roadrunner style, little puffs of smoke behind him.
Yes. And then pulling back from the funny moment, he's seeing men fighting Trollocs, and there's chaos. There are dead Trolloc bodies all over the place and dead bodies of men. He ends up coming face to face with a Myrddraal, and as this happens, Ingtar engages the Myrddraal and basically tells Rand, like, I've got this. You're nowhere near capable enough to deal with this. Why don't you go try your hand at a Trolloc or two? Yeah. I just really want these chapters to play out on screen.
Oh my God. A battle inside Fal Dara would be so cool.
Rand enters a corridor under the keep, which I'm guessing is the prison/dungeon.
Yeah.
And as he's kind of lurking his way through, he finds the heads of the guards, and the bodies are gone, and he later realizes that the bodies are gone because they have been eaten by the Trollocs. And a script of words written in blood on the wall addressing him personally.
Yep.
And it says, "We will meet again on Toman Head." Mm-hmm. And so Rand is like trying to scrub this off the wall. It's filth. I guess the Trollocs are able to write, which just seems weird to me.
Is there a Trolloc school?
So Rand is trying to scrub this off the wall, and Liandrin enters, seeing Rand trying to wipe all the blood off, and she's like, "What are you doing? Are you writing this?" Because, of course, Liandrin, he's writing it right now.
Yeah,
this is so
totally.
dumb.
This farm boy has as much chance of writing as a Trolloc does. Okay, sorry.
So she uses the one power on him, hurting him, holding him in place, and commanding him to tell her what he's doing. So as this is going on, Moiraine enters the dungeon, and then we get a few kind of rapid fire things that we learn. So Egwene is in the dungeon. She's been injured, hit in the head. Padan Fain has escaped. The Horn of Valir is gone. The Shadow Spawn entered through the Dog Gate, which means someone let them in, which means someone in Fal Dara is a Shadow Pal. Dun, dun, dun. And
Indeed.
that wraps up Chapter 6.
Oof. All right, so Chapter 7 is Blood Calls Blood. Mat has been carried away, and he's been kind of sort of healed by the Aes Sedai. Can't fully heal him without the dagger. And Verin comments that despite what they've done, Mat has only a matter of months to live. And Moiraine is wondering, like, what use is Mat at this point? Like, her thought is, he is not necessary with the horn gone. And yet, ...
Harsh.
Right. Cold, Moiraine.
Cold-blooded.
It's an Amber sing-along. So the Amberlin attempts to dismiss Verin. She's like, hey, we're all tired. Why don't you go hit the ham and talk to Moiraine for a second? And Verin's like, interesting thing about the stuff that's written down in the cell. And so she says it has the form of poetry or song and the sound of prophecy. And so she
Verin,
starts,
you creep.
Right?
You absolute creep of a woman.
So these are the main points of what Verin has translated. She's seeing it as potentially a dark prophecy, which is basically unknown by people who are not dark friends. So Landfire is back. We get the Daughter of the Night. Lord Luke and Issam. These are two names that I would definitely say, like, kind of keep tucked in the back of your head because they're going to come back again later. Hawkwing's armies may be returning, and Verin has this really fun moment where she's like, this could be happening.
Or it could not be happening. And Swan Sanche is like, Christ, woman. Like,
yeah.
Is it or isn't it? Quit thinking out loud.
Yeah.
Just go.
She's like so ready to see her gone. And the whole time Moraine is like, oh my God, Browns. They're just so oblivious. Like, we don't need to be talking about this. There's so many more important things to talk about. And then Verin just drops the bomb and is like, well, and of course, one of the young men that you brought with you is the man who can channel. And then Moraine and Swan realize that they now have a third person in this secret mission of bringing the Dragon Reborn safely to where he needs to be. Then we jump to the Perrin point of view. He's been attempting to see Mat in the sick room. Leanne's been in charge of kind of keeping everybody away from Mat. He waits until Leanne takes like a little break, and then he goes over and he sits next to Rand in the sick room, and we get this like this momentary exposure or thought of Perrin's extra sensitive senses at this point. He notices that the sick room smells like death and sickness
like
to him.
Sick?
Yeah, exactly. And then also that Mat smells wrong. Like, he looks like he's going to recover, but there's something still wrong with him. So Leanne finds Perrin sitting next to Mat, and since he's not supposed to be there, she starts to chastise him and tell him to go away. And then she comments on how pretty he is. And I just think maybe Leanne should have gone green. But then she reaches up and she grabs his head and checks his health using the power. And she's like, you are as healthy as a young wild animal, but if you were born with those eyes, I am a white cloak. And Perrin's like, my light cursed eyes. And he runs away to go mope. Bran's point of view is the next one we get. He's having an internal struggle. Should he stay? Should he go? Are we going to have a song moment? Everybody's got it in their head, right? I do love that song. So Perrin returns to their shared room, and in the conversation that he has with Rand, it does seem as though there's an opportunity for reconciliation. But then Rand shuts down and is like, it's too secret. I can't tell you. It'll be bad if you know the truth. And Perrin's like, fine. And he storms off and slams the door, and Rand sits and mopes. And then Lan comes in. And this is maybe one of our biggest lessons with Lan that we've gotten so far. I don't know if there are more that are like this, but this one was so
Lessons with Lan.
fun. This was so fun. So Lan picks out Rand's outfit. I love this. Like, I'm just like picturing him going through all of those coats. Nope. Okay, this one. Yeah, this one. Yeah.
While telling him a million things all at once.
Right.
Like focusing, going through all the clothes and being like, do this, don't do this, do that. Definitely don't do that.
Yeah. And then he's like, oh yeah, and wear your sword. And Rand's like, dude, do you have any idea the amount of shit I got for wearing a sword in the women's apartments last time? And now you're like, wear a sword?
To meet the Amerlin?
Yeah, like but Lan's like, no, wear your sword. So he does. There were a couple moments in this where what Rand says makes Lan smile, or like the ghost of a smile touches his lips, like things like that. And I think it's adorable. But Rand says he thinks he knows how to bow because he saw the Queen's guards do it. And Lan's like, yep. Just like that. That'll make him think.
That's my boy.
Yeah. It's really funny. So then he ties this golden cord around Rand's arm. And on it, I know, right? On it is hanging a pin for that. It's the red eagle of Manetheren. And it's so sweet. This is such a sweet moment. But then Lan says, the light burned me. I am probably wasting my time, but I have nothing better to do. Ouch! Ouch! I don't know how I would feel. That's not exactly the pep talk I would want to have.
Who does Lan hate more, Swan Sanche or Rand? Because he's, you know what I mean? He's kind of like screwing with both of them in this moment. Like, yeah, Rand, wear your sword. That'll be hilarious. Yeah, also, Swan Sanche, like, haha, like,
she's
this
not going to know what to do with
great.
You. Yeah. You're going to sound like a Borderlander. You're going to look like an Andoran noble, and you're going to, you're going to look like an Aiel. Yeah. And you're going to bow like a Queen's Guard from Andor. Oh, that's Lan's reaction in his head. That's what he's doing.
So good. So good. god!
I mean, if it makes Lan smile, it would make any of us drum our heels on the floor with laughter. You know?
Right. If the stone-faced man like can get like a hint of a smile at this I can't breathe.
This is funny shit. So I absolutely love this, and then this burn on Rand on top of it. And then the last quote from, and I mean, it's not the last line, but like the last thing that stuck with me from the chapter is, there's one rule above all others for being a man. Whatever comes, face it on your feet.
Chapter 8, The Dragon Reborn. The Amerlin has summoned Rand to her chambers. He is in the midst of walking there with Lan, and they are getting their swagger on. Lan tells him cat crosses the courtyard, just like Lan does in his training. So without even thinking about it, Rand starts strutting. So his back is very straight, but his arms are very loose. And they are...
And he's just like that. He's just like that.
I mean, I know that it's supposed to be like a tough guy kind of swagger, but all I'm seeing in my head is Weekend at Bernie's. Moraine and Verin are there in the room, and Moraine tells Rand, well, Swan is obviously there.
Right.
And Moraine tells Rand the story of his birth and that he was born on the slopes of Dragonmount during the Aiel War. Tam was a blade master that brought him home, and that she and Swan have known about him since this foretelling of Guitar Moroso, all the way back from New Spring era. So Swan tells Rand that his friends are leaving to find the Horn of Val'ir, and they offer Rand a choice of leaving with them. We, the readers, and Rand learn that he is the Dragon Reborn. So Swan tells him that despite him not wanting to channel, he was born with the spark, and that he must learn to control it.
Yeah.
It's his destiny.
Bum,
So
bum,
we
bum.
then we switch to Nynaeve's point of view. And she sees Lan leaving the Amerlin, and she's kind of rushing to try and catch up with him, but she loses sight. There's too much going on. So she ends up running into Lan, more like Lan kind of running into her, and she's trying not to look at him. But Lan's like, I wish to speak to you, Nynaeve. And she is so angry because he shamed her when she told him her intentions in The Eye of the World.
Yeah.
The book, not the place. So Lan
Good point.
Yeah. Lan gives her his signet ring, which is the ring of the royal family of Malkier, and he calls her his Mashiera, which means his lost love. Oof.
Yeah. Heart-wrenching.
Moraine intrudes on this moment with Lan. She then attempts to manipulate Nynaeve into going to Tar Valon.
Yeah.
Because she knows Nynaeve's desire to keep Egwene safe. And she's kind of holding it over Nynaeve. Like, you don't want Egwene to be in Tar Valon all alone, do you? Nynaeve thinks about hitting Moraine, which is from the quote that I pulled from the beginning of the episode, and she wants to knock the smile off of her face, which I live for, because in this moment, I do too.
Yeah.
That was so awful. And Nynaeve is just getting over the fact that Lan basically turned her down in the last book, and now he's giving her his signet ring, like basically being like, I'm gonna die, and here, take this thing, and throw it away if you don't want it. It's just all these kind of like mixed emotions and feelings, and then Moraine smirking.
Yeah.
It's like,
Thanks, Moraine.
girl.
Unnecessary.
So, or who knows, maybe this is complete narrator bias, and Moraine did not smile at all, and Nynaeve is just pissed. We then switch to Egwene's point of view. She thinks to herself that Nynaeve is mooning after Lan. She does say, like, but Lan's being dumb because it's obvious that he loves her, and he just needs to tell her that he loves her. Then, in a heartbreaking moment, Nynaeve tells Egwene not to call her wisdom anymore, And this is becoming apparent that parts of their old lives are being put behind them.
Yeah.
And Rand wants to speak to Egwene. He's outside down below from the women's quarters shouting kind of and acting all wild. And the women are all in a tither about it. She eventually finds her way down to him. She's led by some woman. I forget her name. Doesn't matter. And she tells him that she is going to go to Tar Valon, and she feels pangs of jealousy knowing that their paths are separating. And this really hit me. She tells him that she promises she will find a way to help him. And Rand asks her to please, whatever she does, not choose the Red Aja. So as we are left with this gut-wrenching chapter, Egwene is hugging Rand, and it ends with him pulling her arms off of him as she's sobbing, and he walks away, and she just cries to herself, and that's how this chapter ends. And I teared up reading it, knowing how much their paths are pulling away from each other. And on top of that, we're going to move right into spoilers right now.
Okay.
So
all right.
Buckle up.